something else that has really come very clearly is that we are here to serve in big ways, in ways that we don't realize that we have the power to do so. And so figuring out what we can do and that we are not helpless in this time of what feels like intense darkness, that there's still just so much light that we can create from within ourselves. And so finding that is really important.
Hello and welcome to Your Free Voice with me, your host, Julia Norton. This podcast is for people who use their voice professionally or for fun, and they want to understand how it works a bit better, or to get over old stories that might be holding them back. Whatever level you're playing at right now, my goal is to bring you lots of actionable stuff, from the technical to the creative to the deeply woo, to help you free your voice. Welcome to Your Free Voice, episode 51. A couple of years ago, I had the great pleasure of being approached by a young, award-winning documentary filmmaker called Colette Ghunim. She was recording voiceover for her latest film, Traces of Home, and was looking for some voice coaching. I helped her with that, but also we dove into the subject matter of her film and how to process generational trauma through shadow work, how to manage vocal stress during protest marches, and how to not lose your voice during a gruelling film circuit. She's one of the most courageous, generous, heart-filled and joyful people I have ever had the privilege to get to know, and I really hope you enjoy this interview. Here's her bio. As a documentary filmmaker and non-profit co-founder, Colette Ghunim's sole purpose is to use the power of film and storytelling for those oppressed around the world to be seen, to be heard, and to heal. Her first documentary, The People's Girls from 2016, received over 2 million views and won Best Short Documentary at the Arab Film Festival for its bold spotlight on street harassment in Egypt. In co-production with Kartemquin Films and funded by Latino Public Broadcasting, she's directing Traces of Home, her first feature-length film documenting her inner quest to find home through unearthing her parents' forced migrations from Mexico and Palestine. Colette is also the co-founder of Mezcla Media Collective, a non-profit organization aimed to cultivate a thriving landscape for over 700 women and non-binary filmmakers of color in Chicago. Her work has been highlighted on international outlets such as Huffington Post, Al Jazeera, Univision, and TEDx. Colette was selected as a 2023 Obama Foundation USA Leader, 2024 Sundance Institute X ISF Fellow, and was featured on Arab America's 30 Under 30 list. When we recorded this interview, it was only a few days after bombing resumed in Gaza. I deleted the first 15 minutes of our conversation because it was too tender to share here. But we cried together and laughed together and then got back to the work of sharing stories together. As Colette so beautifully puts it in this episode, our job is radical love and also action. Here it is, episode 51. I am so thrilled to have with me today the amazing Colette Ghunim. I've read her introduction at the beginning. We're just going to have a chat about all her wonderful work. I'm not going to keep her for too long because she's busy in the world. But I'm so grateful, and I'm so grateful for having you here, Colette. Thank you for joining us.
You're the best, Julia. Thank you. So grateful as well.
So, can we talk a little bit about I was looking at the bio on your website.
Yes.
And you say on there that your soul's purpose is to use the power of film and storytelling for those oppressed around the world to be seen, to be heard, and to heal. How long have you known that, because it's such a beautiful, mission. How long have you known that was your calling?
Oof.
And how did it kind of first show up for you?
Wow. What a beautiful question. Wow. Thank you. Okay. It feels like it's definitely evolved over time. That I
Mm,
was always very passionate about social justice and volunteering, and I loved film and the power of video to tell people stories. And
mm,
that's sort of like where I first began. And it was a very rudimentary understanding of like, I like these things. I don't know why, but I just am
mm,
called to it until I began to go through my own awakening journey of realizing this, which is it's going to come around this film I'm making that's called
yeah.
Traces of Home, and this feeling of never feeling at home
Mm,
and not knowing what that was, and then realizing that this lack of feeling home, I was seeing it in the people that I was filming, and this feeling of
ah,
not feeling seen or heard or belonging, and that many oppressed groups feel this lack of feeling home and displacement in whatever way they experience it. And so now I have realized that this power of the camera and the power to show people, and sort of what you're doing with this podcast, is for people to actually be seen and heard, and
yeah.
that this is like a power, a tool of healing through the power of film. And so that's what it's evolved into.
Oh, I love that. And I'm so glad you brought up Trace of Her because that was going to be my next question. Was it's a documentary that you've made that was inspired by you to track your parents' kind of origin stories and their coming to America and your sense of home. And it kind of morphed into this really kind of, hero's journey of yours, right? Like you really
Right.
discovering yourself. Tell us a little bit about your folks and their story.
For sure, for sure. So yes, so I am half Mexican and half Palestinian, and I was born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, but my mom and dad immigrated when they were children. So my father, he was part of the Nakba in 1948. His home was taken and they were forced to flee what is now considered Israel. And because of that, he had never returned since he was 4 years old
Mm,
to Palestine. And then on my mom's side, she was a survivor of domestic violence. Her father, my grandfather, was an alcoholic and extremely abusive, and they fled, crossed the border. My grandmother took her children, which is my mom and her siblings, and they also never went back to Mexico since she was 8 years old. And so in the film, we go back to try to find the original houses that my parents were forced to leave. And it begins to become this much bigger healing journey between me and my family of finding home within
mm.
ourselves together.
And how did I watched you showed me one of the early cuts, which was
Yes.
really captivating. Like it had that kind of vibe of like home movie documentary and this beautiful narrative, this poetic narrative over the top of it. It was really captivating. How were your parents initially? Because I got the impression that they hadn't talked to you a lot about it when you were growing up. And
Right.
then it's like, well, not only are you going to talk about it, I'm going to film it.
Oh,
Like, get everything out. Like, how was that for them?
yes. I mean, definitely for those who come from like immigrant families, like we stay very private. Like
Yeah,
we do not share our feelings with each other and definitely not with the world. And so
yeah.
to have them be on board to be like, okay, yeah, we'll go on these journeys with you was definitely a big um it was a big step for them to becoming
Mm,
more vulnerable and to become
mm,
more open in their own ways. And so I know that they did it for me and that it was definitely an act of love for them to say,
mm,
okay, we're going to unpack this trauma together as a family
mm,
and journey with you for you to be able to heal.
mm.
And like what a gift that was for them to do that. And so yeah, we went back in 2019 to Palestine and then 2020 to Mexico and
Yeah.
done it ever since.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Because it's one of those first questions I ask people when they're coaching with me is that kind of what was the acoustic environment when you grew up? Like, was it a noisy house and lots of people shouting and laughing, or was it really quiet and you had to kind of step on eggshells? And also, that idea of what was okay to share and what wasn't okay to share. And you've just done so much of that journey, like with your family, all together at the same time. And that's a pretty rare thing.
Mhm. Yeah, like I swear this. the making of the documentary itself was the therapy to be able to
Yeah.
interview them and really go deep into like, okay, why are we the way we are? What is the
Yeah.
trauma that has made us have these emotional walls up that don't allow us to be our authentic selves together? And yeah,
Yeah.
my household was very quiet, and then it was very much a place where there could be no big sounds. You had to stay small. And there was a
Yeah.
reason for that, which was trauma, which I never
Yeah.
understood until making of the
Yeah.
film.
Do you think that your idea of what a free voice is like, because this podcast is called Your Free Voice, right? So,
Yes.
and I knew when I set out to do it, it was yes, the kind of physical free voice, but definitely the metaphorical as well.
Mm, mm,
And do you feel like, because it seems like an obvious question, but that the immigrant experience or the underrepresented or the marginalized, their experience of a free voice is a very, very different thing,
totally.
one would presume. Yeah.
Totally. That, like, yeah, of course, how can you have a free voice if you're afraid that you're going to be able to stay in the country, or
Yeah.
you're going to face discrimination, or you're not going to fit in? That my parents literally stayed quiet so that they would be able to adapt into this new country and survive. And so they
Yeah.
taught us the same thing as the next generation,
Right.
thinking that that
Exactly.
was the best way for us
Yeah.
to show up.
Right. And it
Yes.
goes on, right? Like it gets passed down from generation to generation, generation. This trauma just keeps showing up as not showing up, right?
Right, right, right. Just
Yeah.
staying hidden in a box inside of all
Yeah.
of us. That gets just getting passed down in our DNA for sure.
I was also, I was looking at some of the other work you had done as well, and there was your documentary, The People's Girls,
Mm,
right? Can you tell us a bit about that as well?
yes, I mean, definitely it fits into this free voice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't, that was my first film. It was a short called The People's Girls, which was about street harassment in Egypt and really
Mm,
exploring the issue of like why it was so prevalent in Cairo and how people were being able to challenge it and combat it.
mm,
So that was a huge learning journey too, and also
mm,
around being able to unleash and unlock voices around
mm.
such a taboo subject as sexual harassment.
Right. And I just watching clips of it, it was like insane. Like that was just out in the open, just kind of happening.
Right, right. And I
Yeah.
mean, of course, definitely in Egypt it's so bad, but it's everywhere, the
Of
patriarchy
course.
and everywhere.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
it was sort of one of the precursors to the Me Too movement and being able to
Yeah.
really film what it's like to be a woman in the streets when
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
eyes
Yeah.
are on you, that you just want to
Yeah.
go small.
That's amazing. I'd love to see the whole thing actually. I is this how can one see the whole thing?
So it's on Canopy currently, which is like
Okay.
you can get it through your library in the US. And then we don't have it online for free anymore. But yeah, if people are interested, they can go to the People's Girls and we can send a link for
Yeah,
sure.
okay. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Okay, so tell me how you've been kind of exercising your free voice at the moment. We're in a very dark time, and a lot has changed in Palestine since you made your film, which is not very long ago, right? So I know you've been out on the streets. I know I've talked to you a little bit about like hold your megaphone differently and make sure you're using a straw when you go into the right. But like, what is that? What is your life looking like at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough because it's like, of course, seeing what's happening in Gaza and the genocide, that it's like we wish this wasn't the way for the awakening to come, but that
Mm,
it really has propelled us to have to feel like obligated to speak out and to be able to use our voice with courage and with a sense of radical intensity that maybe we weren't planning to use it in that way. I definitely was not planning to use
yeah.
it that way. And so it has really unlocked something within myself to be able to use my own platforms on social media through the film and public speaking to actually talk about the both the genocide in Gaza, but then how it relates directly back to the atrocities that we're seeing now in the US government with
Mm,
immigration and
mm,
abortion and how everything is interconnected in terms
mm.
of oppression.
It's quite motivating to
Ah,
feel like to feel like
mhm.
everyone's rights are being stripped from them. There is genocide. There is, erasure happening, and it feels quite motivating to keep trying to show up, right? I mean, we were just in tears before we started, right? I'll be honest, right? We like it was, oh, how do we talk about this when it's so everything is so incomprehensibly awful.
Totally. Hmm.
But I heard something you said about the awakening is going to come like this. It feels like that it's that tarot card, right, of the tower when everything crashes down.
Yes. And that, like, that it's like the dark night of the soul for
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, yeah.
What we went through in the pandemic, I feel like a lot of people got that
Yes.
suffering, and now here is like the next round for us. And
Yeah.
so, of course, it's like we wish this wasn't the way that the light has to shine through every time, but that
Yeah.
it sort of is that, like, wow,
Mm,
when we reach rock bottom is when we start to realize, okay, what do we actually want the world to be like? What is actually important to us? And that
yeah.
those are the conversations and the free voice that comes out to start
Yeah.
being able to ideate and re-envision what we actually want to see in the world.
And so when you're speaking at rallies or you're speaking at film festivals or colleges, or I know you're doing a lot of public speaking.
Mhm.
What kind of response are you getting from people?
Yeah, I mean, what's beautiful is that again, it feels like it's transcending culture, race, gender
Mm,
at this point. That there is uh an unlifting of the an unrevealing of the veils that has
hmm
happened, where people are like, wow, yeah, I'm totally getting it now because of my parents' stories and my own journey with this. um that there is a level of solidarity that
mm,
is coming through so strongly, and that gives a lot of hope for
mm.
whatever's to come for our collective liberation. But
Yeah.
that it's definitely a marathon and it's a long-term game, and realizing that as well versus just trying to create things, and the sense of urgency,
Yes.
um, which will just lead us to burnout and exhaustion too.
That's right. Right. So again, that's what kind of what we were talking about before we came on live. It's like I was saying how I'm having to really measure my news intake so that I
Totally.
can reset my nervous system in between.
Totally. Hmm.
And so what are you doing to, reset, support yourself, nourish? I saw you was doing a thing in San Francisco. What was it called? The SF Wellbeing Fair?
Yes, yes, the Makunda studio, they're amazing. Yeah. I feel like it's become also like a shift in worldview to realize that rest and
Mm,
restoration are just as important as the work itself.
mm,
And
mm,
so being able to prioritize time in meditation, in nature, in stillness. Before I got on this call, I just went in the sun for 20 minutes and just sat and meditated because I was like, I need to get my head right to be able to show up in the way that I want to, which of course was how it was supposed to be, which is crying.
mm.
I
Oh,
tried. But that, yeah, realizing um that the rest is so important, but then also in the space of being free, and what does freedom actually mean, being able to show up as our fully authentic selves. And that before, I feel like a lot of times it's so ingrained in us that the only way that we have value or can be worthy is if we are showing up in this,
mm,
let's go, we are good,
mm, mm.
everything is a-okay. But that's not real. And that's
Yeah,
not real freedom. And
yeah,
what is it to actually show up in radical love, is being able to cry together and being able to
yeah,
hug each other in
yeah,
our darkness and in our shadow. um and that has been a tremendous force for me to be able to show up in all the ways, to be able to show up in my sadness too, and grief.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, being able to show up in the grief. I know, and it's funny because we had, we were on this social media trying to share our messages and what have you, and most of my MO is like wanting to bring some joy, right? Like joy
Oh,
is kind
totally.
of right,
Totally.
and yet the days and days will go past when I do not get on that camera, right? And there's a reason
Totally.
for that.
I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then and then I'll do something slightly more out of
Oh.
character, and I'll just do some kind of wailing. Yeah, I'm just sort of wailing. I'm just wailing. It's wailing because it makes me feel better. So try it. And actually, that feels really authentic,
Yes.
right?
Yes. That's amazing.
Um,
I love that.
but I love what you said. What did you say? Radical. Radical love?
Yes.
Tell me
Yes.
what that means to you. I love the sound of it. It
Yes.
sounds delicious.
Yes. Radical love. It is unconditional because
Yeah.
it's no longer us only being lovable if we are in a certain mood or if we're in a certain showing up in a certain way, that it's like, no, I love you for everything that you are, your sun
Yes.
and your moon, and it's like,
Yes.
wow, what a gift to be able to be loved in that way, which is radical in the sense
Yeah.
because we've been so programmed to be in conditional love
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah. 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 That's so true. That's so true. Yeah.
Mhm. But it should be our norm. It is our norm as children. It's our norm. The children know.
The children do know. The
Yeah.
children do know. So I'm gonna actually just while we're talking about how we show up on social media, I
Yes.
pulled a few little juicy things that rang bells for me from your Instagram feed,
Oh,
which
oh,
by the way, everybody, is Coco Sanctuary. So Coco Sanctuary, if you want to follow her, I'll put a link in the show notes too.
thank you, Julia.
But
Good.
well, no, they're just things like you shared a really heartfelt message about not getting into Sundance.
Oh.
Right? Heartbreaking and also transformative.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And can I read what you said in case you
Yes,
don't know?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank
Okay. A
you.
bit of what you said was, I got caught up in the illusion of the hierarchy and I fell hard. We're being forced out of the conditioning, out of the supremacy, to forge our own paths instead, authentically, together. What if it's about showing up and being in loving presence for one another?
Wow. Thank you for relaying that back to me. I
It's
can't help
a beautiful thing.
you. Thank you. I needed that. I really needed to hear that from you, from
Yeah,
myself.
from yourself. Yeah, it's funny how that works. So yeah, I know that you had been working on this film for a really long time, and that Sundance had been this kind of pinnacle of made itness,
Mhm, mhm,
and then you didn't get accepted, and you had this hard fall and this beautiful revelation, which I think is one of the things I love so much about following your feed on Instagram, is that not only are there a lot of very heartbreaking realities on there, there's a lot of just so much love and so much we can do this, people, right? Like there's a sense of um hope,
mhm,
and even when it gets really dark for you,
mhm.
you were able to manage. I mean, I think because you are such a beacon of hope and love and joy yourself,
Yeah.
it doesn't it always finds kind of a way through, you know.
Yeah.
Um so what is next for the film then? Now
Yeah.
that you've been able to let go of this kind of Sundance piece.
Yes. Well, yeah, now that we realize once again what the priority actually is, and that it's like
Mm,
being able to do the actual work to allow other people to go back home and find home for themselves. And
yeah.
so the next step is really focused on the impact campaign and the national screening campaign for the film.
Mhm,
Of course, we're still applying to festivals and we'll see wherever it ends up,
mhm,
but
mhm,
that the real work is in this trauma healing space and
mhm,
being able to take it to other children of immigrants and refugees across the country and to be able to start doing that inner unpacking of the emotional walls and the
mhm,
walls that are not allowing us to stay home or to find home. And it reminds me of actually an exercise that you led, Julia, your amazing meditation that I like go back to all the time of like, okay, there's this wall in front of us and we see something
mhm,
on the other side. What
mhm,
is it that's not allowing us to get to the other side of our highest versions of ourselves, of our
mhm.
most truest, authentic selves? And that's what I want to do, is be able to bring that to other people to find home within themselves. And so our goal is to be able to work with like somatic practitioners and healers and therapists and maybe you, Julia.
Absolutely. Sign me up.
It would
Sign
be
me up.
amazing to be able to bring
Yes.
this work to communities that don't get access to to these mental health services in this way.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. I would love to do that,
That would be
and it would probably, it would probably be a 2 hour something or something like that. But we'll make it work. Yeah.
wow. I think it would be so special. And yeah, I know so many, yeah, the immigrant communities, BIPOC communities, we need this so badly, so badly.
Yeah,
But
that's
that's right. This
right.
is not access. So yeah, it would be incredible. Happy.
So that is what your excuse me, that is what your what did you say it was called?
It's
This
an impact campaign.
right.
Yes. Yes. So we got a
Mm,
grant. So we're starting to work with like an impact producer to start actually building out this screening
great.
strategy for it, and
Oh,
like who are
that's
our
great.
partners and that kind of thing. So yes,
Oh,
it would
I
be
love it.
great.
Yeah.
Great.
Let's talk more about that. And make sure that at the end as well that we get all details and things for you for people to donate or follow you on social and all those kinds of things. So
Thank you.
um okay, so I'm going back to your little okay. Kind of like it's so interesting when you've got excuse me, when you've got somebody's Instagram thread and you can just like go in there and pick choice things. Okay, so how about telling us a little bit more about the Mezcla Media Collective
Oh
too?
yeah, for sure. Yes. So, a friend and I started this organization called Mezcla Media Collective back in 2018 when it was super important to figure out how do we start to create a backbone for other women of color and
Mm,
non-binary filmmakers of color,
mm,
to be able to start to create that foundational support system for one another. And
mm,
so we do a lot of different educational workshops and bringing jobs and like getting them hired on crew sets and being able to really think about going beyond film school. How can we thrive and sustain as filmmakers? And so since we started, we're now at over 750 women in Chicago that we're supporting. And that
that's
like, yeah, it's been incredible.
amazing.
It's like to see it just growing on its own. And now especially more than ever that it's like this is sort of like a deep need for us to be able to support each other that we cannot
Yes.
rely on
Yes.
to tell our stories that are so needed now more than ever.
I love that. And it ties into this business of how do we manage our nervous systems? How do we deal with the trauma of being alive right now? How do we
Yeah.
do and it's through, well, like you said already, like making sure that we rest and get some nature if we can, even if it's, finding a wildflower growing through a brick wall or what, however we can
Background.
find or a redwood Zoom background, which is beautiful. Yes.
Yes.
Um, or community, obviously,
Yes. Yeah.
like
Yes.
super huge. Talk to me about your passion for community because I know it's a huge thing for you.
It is massive. And I think for me, growing up in the suburbs of the US, I feel like I grew up in a very
Yeah.
isolated bubble.
Yeah.
Everyone's hyper independent competition, that
Mm,
like this idea of the collectivistic culture from which my own cultural background is rooted in was
yeah.
completely erased.
Yeah.
Uh, I was totally disconnected from this idea of being rooted in community.
Yeah.
And being able to realize that I couldn't find a community, so I ended up making one instead, and
Mm,
that it was so transformational for me to actually find a support system. And
mm,
now being able to realize that if we are truly to be able to decolonize ourselves and decolonize as a collective, we have to do it together and we have to learn
yeah.
how to depend on each other. That is literally the only way we're going to make it through. And I think that something that really showed it was the wildfires in LA, was
Ah,
that seeing how people came together in like their own self-sustaining mutual aid groups
yeah.
was such an inspiration. And I'm like, yes, this is the way that we're
That's
going to be
right.
able to create a new ecosystem for one another, is being able to
That's right. And I think that if I can just jump in on that is during COVID, I think
yes,
we found community online, right? Like
yes,
there was like, oh my goodness, this
right,
actually feels pretty good, right? Like being able to reconnect with people overseas and all these kinds of things. But now I feel like, for my own, I feel like a deep need to find community, like in my neighborhood, in my
yes,
extended neighborhood, like making sure that I really know that old lady down the road, three doors down, like
mm,
so that because that feels really tangible,
right,
right? And
right,
it feels like it slows. the pace down, because it's like, well, I've got some lemons, I'm going to leave them in a basket out here, and they leave their figs out, and all those kinds of,
Oh.
they're all the little funny. Now, of course, I'm aware that I live in the most bubbly of bubble lands, but but uh just being so for me as well, like it's getting to community events a bit more, getting out to more live music and theater, and
Mm,
sitting in a room with people having an experience,
mm.
right? I think going to live theater has always been that for me. Music too.
Yes,
Yeah, but
totally, totally.
yeah,
Yeah, and
I
that you're
think
also creating community by your own, the platform and the resources that you shared in the groups that I've been part of. It's a beautiful community of people also
right.
wanting to seek their own authentic self. Like, yeah, you're doing the work. You're doing it.
Thank
It's
you.
amazing. It's amazing.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
so here I've got one more. I've got one more, and you've talked a bit about this because I'm aware of the time, but you've talked a bit about this already. But I'm going to read something back to you. Ready for some another Colette truth bomb?
Okay.
Okay. If I'm to live authentically in truth, I recognize I must have the courage to show the shadows as well. The life of an artist is one where we place messages in bottles, praying someone will find them somewhere across the ocean. It could take months, years, decades. But what if the point is not that it finds someone? What if it's about keeping the faith itself? All we are commanded to do is just write the message. Keep going. That's so beautiful, Colette.
Thank you. It's definitely channeled. It's not me. It's not me. That is a soul from the divine speaking through.
But this is it. This is what your vessel is, right? Your vessel is
Mhm.
to channel this kind of beautiful healing and love and joy and community, and to be a source of hope for others who need a light. And that is definitely what you are.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you so much for seeing that.
Yeah.
It means so
Yeah.
much. Because, yeah, when you're in the darkness, it's like, wow, it feels, there's a lot of hopelessness. And so you reflecting this back is helping me so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad. Um, so I think that there's so many. I could actually have you here for
Oh,
hours, and I'll
oh, I
talk to you
know.
about
I
all
love
kinds
you
of
so
things.
much. I could talk to you forever
But
too.
I'm being really cognizant of the time. But is there a call to action that you would have allies who are listening to this today, who want to support you, who want to support the actions you're taking and the people that you're serving? Is there anything you'd like to share with them?
Yes. I think it would definitely be in the space of this this concept of radical love and
Mm,
being able to get into a space of discomfort because our comfort is where we stay in our safety, what we think is our safety, but that it does not allow us to actually be able to show up in the ways that we want to. And so I, of course, my big issue is Palestine and trauma healing, but everyone is needed in every facet of every social issue. And so I would really implore people to see what they're most passionate about and to go into it more fully and to take steps to join a community, to donate, to find ways to actually get activated. And
mm,
that we are here. Something else that has really come very clearly is that we are here to serve in big ways, in ways
mm,
that we don't realize that we have the power to do so. And so
mm,
figuring out what we can do and that we are not helpless in this
mm,
um time of what feels like intense darkness, that there's still just so much light that we can create from within ourselves. And so finding that is really important. And then on my end, if people are interested in following the journey of Traces of Home, definitely following Traces of Home at the Instagram and like the
mhm,
website, the newsletter.
mhm.
And we are starting to collect those who are interested in having screenings at their community centers, at their colleges. And so
Right.
if they have ideas of screenings, we are very, very interested in collaborating in all the ways to bring the film to different places across the US. Mhm.
Brilliant. Thank you. I want to ask you one more thing as well, which I should have asked you before,
Mhm.
but that is for those of us who, um, really want to engage in communication with people who might be holding really different views to us, right?
Mhm.
and I know you have done this a lot. Like, do you have like key principles or things that you come back to help you engage with somebody who's coming from an opposite point of view, whether it's a difficult uncle or somebody on the street when you're protesting, or what is it that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow, it's a tough one. This is one of the hardest questions I feel
yeah,
like that we are still trying to un navigate.
yeah,
Um, for me, something that I have realized is that it is not my role to convince people to care,
mm,
and that I cannot force people to understand
mm,
atrocities. That I can
mm,
only show up and do my, again, it's the showing up and speaking the message, and
mm,
whoever is ready to hear it will hear it.
mm,
Um, and that all we can do is still show up as a loving presence and to be in that space of grace and compassion, but that
mm,
it is not our duty to try to convince people that uh
mm,
that are racist or that are supremacist, that like,
yeah,
unfortunately, we don't want to
yeah,
leave people off of the boat, and like we really hope that they get on the boat of radical
yeah,
love, but
yeah,
that if they're not ready for it, we cannot, we have to
yeah,
go
yeah,
forward.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
this is my
yeah,
philosophy, that
yeah,
yeah, we pray for them and we hope that they reach the light too within themselves,
yeah.
because it's usually a lot of pain and suffering within themselves that keep them from seeing others fully.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah,
all, yeah, pain and suffering begets pain and suffering, right? It's
yeah,
like all the way
yeah.
around.
Yeah, I mean, if people have the strength and the ability that they want to engage in the conversation, to just, try to ground and center beforehand, but that do not, it's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
that's okay. It's the message is in the bottle, right? You put it
Yes.
in there. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
Mhm.
Colette, is there anything else that I should have asked you today or that you want to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. And I recently, somebody, I don't know where I heard it recently, but that maybe it was Instagram. I feel like Instagram has become like this source
Yeah.
of wisdom. That it's like the way that choirs are able to sustain their longest, highest notes is because some people are able to drop off, and then the other people sustain the note. And that's why it sounds like it keeps going, even though some people are dropping off. And so I just want to thank you because you are one of the people that's sustaining me when I feel like I'm dropping off.
Oh, sweetheart.
That like every time you're here and that we're balancing each other out. And so may
Mm.
we continue to be in the choir to keep the longest note possible
I
together.
love that. And that's so true about choirs. They do that. And that's a beautiful symbol.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's what
So,
actually
Colette, thank you so much for coming today. I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time and
thank
being so honest and authentic and vulnerable.
you.
And I will share in the notes, I will put all your links to the things, and you and I will talk about me coming and help with some radical love in these places.
Yes.
Okay.
I would love to. That would be amazing. Thank you so much,
All right.
Julie. Thank you for being with
All
me.
right, my love. Take care.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Check out the show notes for where to find Colette and how to support her storytelling mission. And if you're connected to colleges, JCCs, universities, high schools even, that might want to put on her film and maybe have her come and speak, do get in touch with her. Also, if you're interested in the visualization she references that she did with me about finding your true self behind the wall, I'll add that link to the show notes too so you can try it out. Okay, that's it. Until next time, take care, stay strong, radical love, and take action. Oompa oom, oompa oompa oom, oompa oom, oompa oompa oom, oompa oom, oompa oompa oom, oh 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 ah ah oh oh oh.